Thank you for joining me on another episode of Jay in Transit. This is episode 6 of our COVID Confessions 1 year later. And if you've been tuning in, you know that I love having conversations, so I could not resist speaking to my friend Nussy Alam, co-founder of I Am Perspective, whose purpose is to unite and work through our differences through conversation. So I hope you enjoy, and I will see you on the other side. Well, welcome to the podcast, Nussy. It's such a pleasure to have you. I appreciate you agreeing to come talk to us about the unique space that you and your partner have been occupying in the diversity, inclusion, and equity space.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. I'm always down to have a conversation with you. My name is Nussy Alam, and I am one of the co-founders of I Am Perspective. And we really consider ourselves to be a social community platform that is in the business of conversation and breaking barriers through the medium of conversation and having honest conversations. And that has changed significantly over the past 4 years that we've been doing it. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Yes, and I'd love to hear how it all started, because it has been 4 years. I mean, for me, I came into your being about 2 years ago, but it wasn't fresh then. But it has evolved into many different forms. So tell us how it all got started.
Yeah, it actually started as a community project of some sorts, I guess. So I'm a co-founder with one of my best friends. We've been best friends since high school. He happens to be a black man, and I am a Bengali Muslim woman. We kind of come from separate worlds, but we grew up in the same neighborhoods. And our friendship has grown over the last 20 plus years at this point.
Right.
But, at the heart of it, during Black Lives Matter, back around 2016, 2017, we really started having some very honest conversations about what that meant in terms of our identity. I mean, in terms of being friends, like what does it really mean to be a friend or to, understand one another and really be there for one another. And we were having so many conversations, and at some point we're like, all right, let's have this conversation with other people. And so we had this idea of just do this once a month for 12 months. Like that was our original idea. Year one, that's what we did. By year two, somehow, I don't know, I think we ended up doing like 40 events or something.
Wow.
In 2019. And we were in different cities. We were in DC, we were in Orlando. I even did an event out in Amsterdam on vacation. Yeah, we started doing panels. And then 2020,
Right.
the beginning of 2020 started out kind of great. We started our radio show. We started having more conversations, getting in depth with people. And, we had these great conferences planned. And then, of course, everything kind of came to a stop. And while everything came to a stop, I think we kind of kept going, kind of evolved. More than ever, we realized that people needed to stay connected and wanted to be in community and have conversations. While we were in the pandemic, but then also, with George Floyd and everything that happened, there was even more of a need for the kind of conversations that we were having. And I think people really started to realize the importance of the work that we were doing. But it was always kind of like a nice thought beforehand. And then, 2020, for us, we had to it was our time to really keep going. And so we have shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to take a step back to ask, how your conversations with your best friend have changed since the start of your endeavor together.
We just in general have just become much more understanding, right? We
Mm-hmm.
have our own perspectives, and our own way of seeing the world, and the way that we saw it in the beginning. Things have shifted for us as well, right? We're learning as we speak to people, as we speak to each other. There's opportunity to learn. I think something that we're both very conscious of are our differences, not so much in race, I think, but more so in
Mm,
gender dynamics. In the beginning, it was interesting because, obviously we're doing in-person events back then. It was very
right.
interesting because of how people would receive a man and a woman in front of the room, right?
Mm,
And then for us to have those conversations, like, me especially, like, this is like a thing, like, for him to having to step back and like actually notice it, right? And kind of, in his own right, like there would be moments where he would understand, where he kind of takes a step back, or then, there's moments for me where, I'm not black and we're having a lot of conversations about Black Lives Mattering, and while I'm definitely an ally, um, I can't speak to on it in the same way that he can, right? And so
right.
we're just having honest conversations. I mean, like basically doing the work with ourselves, right? Like, um, yeah, it's been interesting because we're working and we're learning at the same time.
Right. How have the conversations evolved from the start with in your events?
I think it was more theoretical when we first
Mm,
started out, right? Like at that time, while this is right after Trump won his first election, and so while there was some tensions in the air, it wasn't as prominent. Maybe, obviously, has gotten since, right? And so, um, there were certain topics that we cover. Like, not all our topics are as serious, by the way, right? So, like, there's certain topics we would cover that's like love and perspective, right? And
mhm,
so, um, it's more of a what if kind of situation versus now when we talk about certain topics, there's a deeper level of attachment, right? Because now when we talk about racism or gender inequalities or anything else, I think people are more aware of the division now versus
mm,
before. So
mm. Is there a certain level of self-care that you have to undertake as you go in and out of these conversations you're facilitating?
oh, yes.
Mhm.
I mean, and I've had to really learn how to do all that self-care, right? But it's so needed. In the beginning, when we were having events, like right after the event, I would immediately, like, we're done. Like, I would give about like 5 minutes for people to clear out, and then that's all they had access to. It's like, all right, okay, well, I'm done now. I'm gonna go home. And then you might probably not hear from me for a week. Um, Same thing now. I think I actually take even more time to process.
Mhm.
Um, we were like I said, we did 40 events in a year. So we're having conversations all the time, and really just being mindful of that energy, right? Like, I think when it comes to self care, I'm mostly being mindful of the energy that you're around people that you're dealing with and they're absorbing, and how do you get it back? And so taking more and more time for that.
That is that is a definitely a powerful observation because I've recently had to talk about how I've been protecting my energy in certain spaces, and some people are like read it totally different. They take it very personal or as if it's an excuse, but I'm like, no.
I was just having that conversation today. I had a friend who basically called me selfish, right? this weekend, and it was like, I was like, okay, as a person in perspective, sometimes I gotta listen and be like, all right, like,
Right.
where are you coming from? Um, and so I was like, okay. And so they kind of were like, when when you reach out, they respond right away, right?
Right.
And like, but with you, when you reach out, it's kind of like you're gonna respond back when you feel like it, right? And you know, I wasn't aware of the feeling that it might have created on that end, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
like, here I am, and I'm like, well, I'm just not there right now. Like,
Right.
I've had a long day, I'm doing other stuff. But not necessarily being mindful of like the feeling that it creates. And so, it's one of those things you got to balance, I guess, of, being mindful, but also like, this is also who I am, right? Like, I
Right.
think people that are around me the most also, like, this is who I am. I will pop up and you can definitely get in touch with me if you really need to, but I am an introvert, all this talking aside. So
Yes, I will say thank you because you are an introvert, and I appreciate that we're doing a lot of talking today. So yes, let's go to 2020, which is where we were before I took us a few steps back.
yeah.
How did that change your perspective as to how you were bringing or developing, scaling up, I am perspective?
Well, 2020 is really when we got into the DEI space.
Mm,
Here we were, actually doing the work with the communities, with the public, with the people, right? Like, you know, what is the point of DEI? Like, what is it looking to do? And I think, we had this like unique set of answers. And that really took place through our How to Be an Ally workshop, right? And we're talking about unconscious biases, we're talking about privileges and what that really means to use it in an empowered way. Having uncomfortable conversations that most people are not willing to have, right? But for us, that's something that we've been in the space of. And you can have conversation in an effective way, right? And so,
right.
these are all things that we've been doing and learning and observing, and, you know, now we have in course form, which we've been doing, with the public, and then also, in a corporate setting, and really looking to take that work. Like, we believe the work is work that everybody needs to do, right? Like, we all have things we need to be more aware of. And so, yeah, really finding the need for our work and getting, I think other people are, for whatever reason, people are looking to do the work themselves. So,
Right. What were some of the challenges you faced, or some of the challenges you were hearing in your conversations, as you had to be fully virtual for something that was meant to be in person?
we have adapted to virtual, but I'll just say now, like, in person, nothing beats in person, right?
Hmm.
With virtual, first, it's only, I guess, eyesight, right? Like, you don't really get to see the nonverbal cues and nonverbal communication. Um, and it's easy to have Zoom fatigue these days, right? And so that's kind of
Hmm.
part of it, right? And so it's like, how long does someone want to be on a screen, staring at a screen, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still a screen.
Yeah.
Um, and so, you know, you make it work. I think when people want to be connected, any form of connection is still a form of connection, and so they're going to make it work. And so we've made it work, and people can still feel things and relate to one another, regardless whether it's a virtual screen these days, or like little robots, or we're face to face.
Were there any do-overs that you would like, when you look back that you say, oh, I would do that again, and how?
That's a good question. um, what would we do over? I think actually we just wouldn't like pressure ourselves so much to like um do everything right then all at once.
Right.
Um, you know, because we really believe in the work that we do and that we do want to get it out to as many people sooner than later, rather, right? We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get a lot done, right? Like we're working on doing the courses and getting that online. There's a lot of things that we're doing behind the scene, and I would we've slowed down. Like we're definitely, like I said, we're getting better at that self care thing. But I think I wish we would have maybe been a little bit better at it before, so it wasn't such a need versus like hey, like we're just maintaining, so.
That that makes sense. I mean, also I feel like we had so much time in 2020, time that we didn't know we were going to get, so we almost were in a rush to just fill it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so yes, please forgive yourselves for that.
Yeah, and fill it with a bunch of other stuff because I'm doing 100 million things all
Right.
at once. So,
So were there any lessons learned from in the last 4 years, but particularly as you have entered the DEI space?
I think really differentiating between what's authentic and what's performative.
Mm,
Um, we're in the space of allyship, and there has been a lot of interest in the last year, but if that interest is actually genuine or not, right? Like, we've had companies who, you know, we've vetted, have, had conversations with, and it was clearly like they were looking to like just check off a box, right? Like, or just do this because, whatever, they need to do it or something, right?
right.
Versus like, oh, this might be something that we should really be doing, right? And so, um, even though we're in the space and we're a business, and we still have a level of like we get to choose who we want to work with, right? And so if you're not really, we can't say that we're going to change everybody's mind, but like we can kind of feel energy and like, are these the people like we should be working with? Are they really like trying to do this work? So
That's definitely a good point, especially as we are, as in our previous episode, my psychologist friends, that for
yeah.
people of color, we've been experiencing multiple pandemics at the same time.
Oh yeah. It's been a lot. I think in terms of like identity, like I mean health wise, obviously, like just the way we've been impacted. It's been quite a year and a half. Not even has it been a year and I don't know, but
Yeah, girl, we're there.
right.
um, are there any tips you would give as we enter back? We start entering back into workspaces. There are some folks who are going to be who never actually left the workspace, right? They've had to show up no matter what, and then there are
Yeah.
some of us who've had the privilege of being able to conduct the work from home, but are now going to be called back. So, are there any tips that you would give as either to us entering back or to the employers welcoming us back?
Um, really just I guess being flexible, right? Like everything, it's going to be a change for you, right? It's going to feel different, right? And so, figuring out being flexible and what that looks like for people who are still going to end up staying home, like we are for the most part, or staying home rather, working from home. Um, try to sometimes find outside spaces, right? So you're not always inside. So like switching it up. With employers who are expecting employees to come back into the office, like 5 days a week is probably not going to be it in the beginning, right? Like you might have to You might have to like work with like 3. Like it's gonna have to be a thing. Like you're gonna have to like ease people in. So I think empathy goes a long way even in that. But I also think, it's a two-way street, right? Like I think employees have to also kind of have to understand about the employers too, right? And like, it's a work. I think in all situations, people are going to have to learn how to work together, right? For the
Mm-hmm.
best interest for everybody. And, each industry and each job is going to have to figure out what's the best for that specific. I can't say, like, I mean, each job is unique, right? And so
Right.
you can't tell teachers that they could stay home if the students are back in the school. Like, it's one of those crazy ass, some jobs you can stay home and maybe you don't really have to go back to the office. And so,
Right.
um, yeah.
Very good points. So what's next for I Am Perspective?
We have a lot. So we are, you know, we do have another conference coming up. We're working on our allyship conference, um, and kind of bringing together a few groups of people to have these conversations, including the men and the women that, we had the men and women conference earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
We have our 4th annual holiday party. We're hoping it's going to be in December, so we're hoping to have a mix of in-person / virtual combination. It's, we're really excited to be back together in person with everybody where we can like actually taste the food and be in each other's presence.
Yeah.
Um, we have, our summer chat and crafts for the kids coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we're excited. I was actually just doing some art and craft stuff right before we got on this call. Yeah, there's some fun things coming up. Um, we're really organizing. We're working on our resource center. We have a lot of resources, so we're getting our online courses and resource center out soon too. So that's something to look forward to.
Well, that is amazing. And I'm very excited to see how it all pans out for you. If folks want to find you, how can they find you?
They can follow me on Instagram at i.amperspective or my personal Instagram at PASSIONUSS.
Great. Well, thank you so much for giving me some of your time and sharing your perspective on today's episode.
Thank you for having me.
Until Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you again, Nussy, for sharing your perspective. I hope that today's episode gives us a little bit of a pause as we continue to navigate our way through uncharted waters. And for now, that looks like we're still getting through COVID, we still want to be social, and we're still dealing with a lot of evolving trauma as we fight the system. So thank you, Nussy. Again, you can find her on I Am Perspective if you want to keep up with their awesome efforts. And you can find me on J in Transit, both on Instagram. And please be sure to rate this podcast on the platform you're listening to. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.